All right, good morning, guys. This is a short lesson on how to find area and perimeter of a rectangle when you have radicals. Now, I'm going to start with area. First of all, let's look at the shape. Base times height. I'm going to call this my base, and this is my height. So if this is square root of 10 plus 3, this one's got to be square root of 10 plus 3. If this base is 4 times the square root of 2, this has got to be 4 times the square root of 2. Now we have everything filled in. Now, area formula is base times height. Height, base, and base. Now, we've got to set it up into a multiplying problem. Now, we're going to have to use parentheses. So I set it up using the base, and I'm going to put the height inside the parentheses. Now, why did I set it up that way? Well, I have one term here. I have 2 here. I like to put the one term on the outside because you're going to have to multiply this by both of these terms. If you had this one on the outside, that'd be a mess. So I'm going to take the one term. Now, here's the tricky part with this. I've got to multiply this times this. There's a square root of 2, square root of 10, so I have to multiply those. I've got to multiply the 4 by the outside number. There's an imaginary 1 there. And I can't multiply the 4 times the 10. It's got to be the 2 times the 10. So let's do it real quick. That's going to end up being 4 square root of 20. 4 times 1 is 4. 2 times 10 is 20. Now I've got to multiply by this term. I can only multiply it by 4 and the 3. But don't forget, there's an imaginary 1 there. So let's see what happens. Plus 12 square root of 2. How did I get square root of 2? Square root of 2 times 1. Okay, so we're down to this. So again, I did 4 times 1 is 4. 2 square root of 2, square root of 10 is square root of 20. And then I did it with a 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Square root of 2 times 1 is the square root of 2. So a lot of stuff to remember right here, especially these are ones. Okay, now let's look at the second part. I can break down this 20 into the square root of 4 and 5. That becomes 2. And don't forget, you've got to multiply that 2 by 4. Okay, it's easy to forget. This is not a square root of 20 anymore. It's the square root of 5. That's the reason we circle it. Okay, this one cannot be broken down, so I'm going to just bring it down here. Now, let's take a look at this part right here. They were supposed to add these two. You got a square root of 5 and you got a square root of 2 in this term. You cannot break those down anymore, and you cannot add those because you got a 5 and a 2. So that is your final answer, and we've talked about a lot this week. You can have a final answer with 2 terms. These terms cannot be combined because the 5 and the 2. So that's area, base times height. Now we're going to do perimeter, which is adding. You could, let's look at the shape. You could add all of these together, but since you've got 2 here and 2 the same here, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to combine multiplying with it. I'm going to take 2 times 4 square root of 2, and then I'm also going to take 2 times the square root of 10 plus 3. Now, why did I do that? Well, I've got 2 sides that are the same, and the other 2 sides are the same. So that's why I have this 2 here. Now, going back to our multiplying rules, this 2 can only be multiplied by the 4. It cannot be multiplied by the square root of 2. So that's going to give me for the 2 bases, the 2 heights. Now here's the tricky part. This is a 1 right here. So that's going to be square root of 2 square root of 10. And then you've got to multiply it by the 3, so that is 6. Okay, so let's review this real quick. There's an imaginary 1 there. So the first arrow goes 2 times 1. I cannot multiply these two, so that stays. And then the second arrow is multiplying these two, which gives me the 6. Okay, so now we have to add them because we're supposed to be adding all these sides, but this section right here, this work right here eliminates part of that. So I have that measurement, and then I have this measurement, and I'm supposed to be adding those together. Okay, again, we have the square root of 2, square root of 10. We cannot add those because of the square roots. We're not supposed to add these two numbers. It's easy to want to do that. And we can't add these two because of these differences in the square root. So this, yes, it's a long answer, but that is correct. You cannot combine these two. If these two radicals were the same, then you could, but you can't. There's your final answer. So again, this is area, and this is perimeter.